I am behind on the times. I am constantly on the grind consuming anime, TV, movies, and video games. I have just too much on my watch list, too much on my games library, and in all of the media I've been consuming, nobody in my personal circle has consumed. So, I'm here talking to you about it. With all that being said, welcome to Think Tank, where I talk about random stuff that I just finished. Games, movies, TV, anime, and today, we're talking Hunter x Hunter. For the longest time, Hunter x Hunter was sitting on my watch list, and I really just had no interest in it whatsoever just looking at it. I think the character designs were really lacking. I never liked how Gon's hair looked. I never liked Gon's design, Kurapika, or Leorio, and they're like right on the cover on streaming services, and they just looked very lackluster. All I see on social media when people talk about Hunter x Hunter, they say it's peak. Their power system is the best power system in all of anime and manga. And I just had to figure out if that was true. Is Hunter x Hunter peak? Is Nen the greatest power system in all of anime and manga? Let's find out. Hunter x Hunter takes place in a world full of magical beasts and monsters, and they have an organization of hunters who go out and take jobs to hunt down monsters, hunt down people, criminals, whatever the task is asked of them. And our main character is Gon Freaks, a kid whose father is a professional hunter who abandoned him to become a hunter. And his motivation is to become a hunter himself to find out what was so special about being a hunter that his dad just had to abandon his family. And what's funny about the show and its premise is that they don't actually get to any monster hunting until like 70 episodes in. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the bad of the show because we're gonna glaze this show in a minute. But right off the bat, this show is a slow burner. The first 20 episodes are just the entire Hunter exam is such a drag. I dropped the show 5 episodes in before picking it back up just because of how boring everybody was and the first phase of the Hunter exams were, and all the characters just were super boring in my opinion. I don't think Gon is an interesting character up until the Chimera Ant arc, which is like 70 episodes in. Up until the Heaven's Arena arc, really the two characters that carry the show are Killua and Hisoka. I think Hisoka is a super fun character to watch, and just he is in control of everything that he wants to do, and he gets what he wants aside from fighting the head of the Phantom Troop. And then Killua he has a great design, and I love his personality, and he's just super fun to watch every single episode. And yeah, those two characters carried up until like York knew. After the slog that is the Hunter exams though, the show does pick up. And I think the show, what stands out the most is its power system, which is Nen, which gets introduced in the next arc after the Hunter exams, Heaven's Arena. And as soon as Nen gets introduced, the show just picks up, just skyrockets in quality. It's like night and day. Like I said before, there's no hunting of any sort until like 70 episodes in. It is all spent on learning about Nen and Gon and Killua, or all the main cast, just getting their abilities and learning how to use them. And that's where the show shines most, is just learning about Nen and watching the training. I have not enjoyed an entire sequence of training in anime more than in Hunter x Hunter. It is so fun learning about every special thing about Nen, all the different types, all the different abilities you can do, how to get it, how to enhance yourself, how to master it. They do a great job at explaining Nen and expounding on it and just doing all the things you can do with it. And the only limit is the author's imagination, really. It is so fun to watch. And then right after Heaven's Arena, you move on to York New City arc, which focuses on Kurapika, the other member of the main gang, who at first I thought was kind of just a ripoff of Sasuke with having special eyes, and his entire clan was wiped out because of the special eyes they have, and he was pretty lackluster until we get to Yorknu and we see him and his Nen ability and see his resolve, and we see him just decimating a member of the Phantom Troop. They're interesting. I think they have good designs, have cool Nen abilities. I don't think they're the best, but they are fun to watch though, and I like how the show in later episodes just has them doing their own thing. We just get to watch them do whatever the Phantom Troop is wanting to do. They're cool characters. The show does take a bit of a step back going into the next arc, which is Greed Island, which is where the gang goes to, or just Gon and Killua, they go to a video game world to just beat it because Gon's dad left a save file on the game, and they go into the game, and which I think was a fun concept, and it was a fine arc. I think just the antagonist of the arc was very weak and boring, which kind of killed it, but it wasn't like a chore to watch because we do get introduced to Biscuit, and we get to watch more Nen training, which is the best part of the show, so I'll allow it. The other best part of this show is the fights. Every single fight in this show is just a battle of strategy. This anime does the best use of like the trope of like the inner monologue of like, oh, I gotta do this to do that, and to best my opponent I'm gonna have to use this ability to make them use that ability and have them do this, and then I'll get the hit on them. And this show does it the best, where every single fight is an inner monologue before executing the attack of like what Nen ability I gotta use, how I gotta use my Nen, I gotta go at this speed, I have to react just right, and I have to do this. It's just always so interesting to like listen and watch them plan out their strategy and then execute it, and then it's even more interesting when you see it executed, and then they do the trope where they explain what they did to the enemy and how the enemy was bested, and it just every single time it's just super complex and it all adds up. It's concise, and it's just I couldn't fathom writing out this story because of how much strategy is placed and how intuitive every character is. I could not write this. My brain's just not big enough. Every single fight, every single strategy is just oozing a wrinkly brain that the author possesses. It's just I do not have the ability to make something so complex and strategic. I couldn't, and it's so impressive, and every single time they do it, it's fun, it's interesting. And now let the glazing commence. We're at the Chimera Ant arc. If you have seen Hunter x Hunter, you know what we're about to get into, and if you haven't seen Hunter x Hunter, this is the arc. The arc. It is so good. This arc has made the show, despite all its flaws, worth watching. Like, if Chimera Ant arc didn't exist, I would not recommend Hunter x Hunter to anybody, but I would just recommend Hunter x Hunter, watching all of it just to get to Chimera Ant. This arc is just wow. Chimera Ant is the arc where we first finally get to see Gon and his friends hunting monsters, and the monsters are Chimera Ants, which is a species where the queen ant will devour a bunch of creatures to birth hybrid monsters of different animal species, and to birth a king to carry on the next generation of Chimera Ants, and eventually she eats humans, and eventually they consume Nen users, which is their favorite food, is human Nen users, and she births eventually the king, and throughout all of it, Gon and friends are on their way to try and stop the queen from birthing the king. They're too late, but eventually the queen gives birth to the king Meruem, who is one of my favorite antagonists in all of anime now. He is such an interesting character, At the same time, he starts off super generic, where his main goal is just to conquer the world and just destroy. That's all he was born for. That's all the Chimera ants are born for, is just to devour and populate. But they do something so special where they take such a generic character and slowly build him up to develop a really interesting personality and a very interesting, like, complex in his brain. Like, to pass the time before assimilating the world, he brings in people to play, like, board games with him, and if he beats them, he just kills them. And then eventually he's playing a certain board game. I can't remember what it was. It's Japanese. I've never heard of it until the show, I think. They bring in, like, the world champion of the board game, and he just can't beat her. Through all the times that he keeps playing against her, he learns new things about the game, new strategies, and he, like, learns more about humanity through this little girl. He grows to realize that humans have more potential than the Chimera ants were led to believe. And so he doesn't want to just destroy every human. He wants to preserve those who have great potential in different areas, which is really cool. And I guess I'll stop there. That's as far as I'll go in terms of his character development. But from there, I think you can surmise, like, where it might go in terms of his development and what kind of antagonist he becomes. And when watching his motivations to carry out the task at hand morph and evolve is very interesting to watch. And then you get to the hero's side of the Chimera Ant arc with Gon and Killua and their development. And man, like I said before, Gon is very straightforward of a character. He's just a pure of heart, very nice kid, and he's smart but not super smart, and he's just full of energy and motivation. And then you get to this arc where a character in the arc is defeated in battle and massively injured, and all he wants to do is heal the friend. And this dude has a beast inside of him, not literally, but like, he is, like, they were building up towards having him have this kind of berserk mode inside of him that he is just ready to unleash. This man going into Chimera is just absolutely juiced up on Nen and full of rage, and it is so fun to watch him walk up on the enemies that were before just impossible to beat. Like, if he tried to just touch them, he'd die. Watching him stand up to the foes he stands up against in this arc, and what he ends up doing is super hype through and through, and it just had me go. Like, I'm sure even if you haven't seen the show, you've seen some, like, the iconic, like, panel of him just, like, sitting on one knee like this the whole time, or, like, I'm sure you've seen something of it. If you haven't, you're safe to, you get to savor that moment now. But that's enough I'll say about Chimera Ant. That arc is such a fun arc. I will say that it kind of starts a bit, like, there's some episodes that kind of slow down the pace a little bit, just because they have so many different Chimera Ants, and they like to flesh out almost all of them, which they do a good job with. But some of the Chimera Ants I just don't care about, and they wanted to spend some more time on them. But aside from that, the arc is phenomenal. It is such a rewatchable arc, and if I ever rewatch Hunter x Hunter, I will be looking forward to watching Chimera Ant again. Maybe I'll watch it with my wife if she ever wants to get around to it. Moving on to the last arc of the anime, the chairman election arc, which is just that. It's a process of electing a chairman for the Hunter organization, and it's actually, like, one of the only arcs of just like election and stuff like that that was really interesting. I was not bored by this arc. It wasn't as bored as I thought I'd be, for sure. Like, I actually enjoyed watching the process of the election and just the post-Chimera Ant incident and everybody processing what happened, especially with Gon and Killua and their development. And then, if you've seen the show, the special moments that happen towards the end of the arc. It's a very short arc. It's like 13 episodes or something, but it's a it's a chill, nice arc to close off the anime. And I think despite the passing of the author, this closing off the show with the 13th chairman election, they did a good job just closing up the show and it not ever being finished. I know that the manga is back now. It's under a different author because, to my understanding, the original author passed away. If you've read the manga, let me know if it's worth reading. I never have the urge to read a story unfinished and then continued by a different author, just because you really can't capture the author's original vision because you don't know what it was. I know that's okay because didn't Berserk come back with a different author, and now Dragon Ball's author is deceased. Rest in peace, Akira Toriyama. What a legend. Is Dragon Ball Super continuing? I don't know, but yeah, let me know because I would be down to read it if it's good. Overall, after a first watch through in 2024 of Hunter x Hunter, I don't think it's peak fiction. I don't think Nen is... It's up there in terms of being the best power system. I still think stands from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure are my favorite power system. But I do think this show is extremely special and is deserving of the praise it gets. Maybe not the hyper praise that it gets, but at the end of the day, I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. Solid anime through and through. Oh, before, I didn't even mention the animation. The animation is clean, consistent. It's got the style that I like with just consistent line work. They don't sacrifice shading and line work for framework. It's all consistent. Madhouse never misses with its animation. But yeah, give it a watch. And if you watched this video for any certain amount of time, thanks for giving me your attention. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, leave a like. If you have something to say about Hunter x Hunter, leave a comment. And thank you for watching. That's it till next time. Bye-bye.